Let's talk about silver. I think that silver is one of the most important investments anyone during this next cycle, this evolutionary economic cycle, could invest in. Now, this isn't investment advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Shoot, I barely made it out of high school, right? But I like to buy silver, and I don't buy it emotionally. I used to when I first started investing in silver back in like 2009, 2010. I really started investing in silver. Actually, it was 2008. Emotionally, right? Because I thought that tomorrow it was going to go to the moon. But I'm starting to see how markets work. Every day I learn something new, right? You don't know what you don't know until you know it. And that's something important to know when it comes to investing. But I believe that there is going to be a day where the price of silver does slowly start to tick up, just little by little. And then all of a sudden people start to wake up to its realities. And that's what I want to talk to you about right now. It says here, silver, it's a story talking about some things that Sprott Asset Management has been talking about, Eric Sprott's company, the unsung hero of the new economy. And let's go over this and we'll chat about it. It says in 2023 alone, the silver market experienced a 15% supply deficit. Now, that actually happened on, if I remember my dates right, it was like 2015 or 2018, around that time. It was on Halloween night. We went from we were mining more silver than we used, and then we went into a deficit where we were mining less silver. Ironically, it happened on Halloween night, one of those years, either 2015 or 2018. And ever since then, we have been producing less silver than we're consuming. And so the supply is getting lower and lower. And most people don't realize that the mining of silver actually happens on the crust of the earth. The top layer of the earth has more silver than lower depths. So as a mine goes deeper and deeper, it just finds less silver. Also, silver is a byproduct of mining other metals, whether it be base metals, gold, things like that. And what other people don't realize is that there are only a handful of primary silver mines on the earth. All right, there are very few places where you have just a solid amount of silver, like what we experienced in the Comstock lode in Nevada, right, a long time ago. But it says here, we've went into a supply deficit. Furthermore, the market is expected to reach a cumulative deficit of about 1,093 million ounces from 2020 to 2024. It's pretty impressive what's happening. It says now, silver is essential in new technologies. We all know the story about solar panels, and they're trying to find other materials to produce electricity in solar panels outside of silver. But as of right now, they just don't have a good option. Okay, I know they've got some things out there in the works that are making electricity, but by and large, they're still making them out of silver. And you look at a solar panel itself, and you see those solid beads of silver, and it is pretty darn impressive, because silver has the highest amp to melt ratio of any metal out there. The only reason they use copper, and they have to use massive blocks of copper in bus bars and these big transformers, is because it would be too expensive to use silver, right? But in all reality, when you look at a massive piece of copper pushing a bunch of amps through it, a ton of watts, primarily we're talking amps, the amount of silver would be totally much smaller. It'd be impressive. You'd be like, what the heck? And silver is what all other metals are based off of or judged when it comes to conductivity, electricity, conductivity. But there's so much more out there. Now, right now, the silver supply, it looks like is dwindling down. And this story goes on to say some interesting things. According to Sprott Silver, silver is second only to oil as one of the most widely used commodities. Now, when you think about that, you're like, wait a minute, why isn't the price much higher? You have a barrel of oil at $67, $68 as of the recording of this. Why isn't silver more? Well, you know, there's lots of times throughout history, a commodity, and I always use rhodium as an example, was just around. Most people don't even realize that rhodium was the fifth metal that Kitco used to list on their pricing chart. I don't know if they do it anymore. And rhodium was also a minted coin, because rhodium was always around from the 80s and 90s and right into the 2000s, half the price of gold. And when gold was around $300 an ounce, $400 an ounce, rhodium was at like $250 an ounce. And I use that story because there was a day where all of a sudden, and rhodium is used in a handful of industrial applications. One of them is mixing rhodium with platinum or palladium so that that metal can do what it does in a catalytic converter, right? Without rhodium, you don't have the same effect. Well, one day Russia, it was around 2005, 2006, just said, you know what, we're going to stop shipping out rhodium. And they were a primary miner of that metal at the time. And that metal went from like $300 to $6,000 or $7,000 an ounce. What seemed like overnight, but it was really about a time period of about a year, year and a half. It then subsequently crashed down to twice as much as gold and sat there for the greater part of a decade. When COVID happened, rhodium ran to, I want to say, $28,000 an ounce. Now, obviously, they stopped selling the coins, right? They stopped minting coins because nobody could afford it. I actually believe you're going to see, and it's happened before with oil, when people said, I remember listening to Lindsay, oh man, what's his name? Lindsay Williams, a long time ago, talking about, and this was before the 2008 crash, when he talked about how oil was going to explode in price and go to, was it $128 a barrel or something like that? And I watched it go, or $138, and I watched it go to the exact dollar amount. When it was just $60, I watched it go into the triple digits, and then it was going to come crashing back down. My point being is that there have been times before in history where commodities, everybody just sort of treats like garbage, and then all of a sudden it's the hot thing. And I do believe that's going to happen with silver one day. Sprott says that as it's second only to oil as the most used commodity on earth, with more than 10,000 applications worldwide, there are more patents on silver than any other metal. Okay, let that ring in. Come to full, get there in your mind. The metal is a key component of photovoltaic cells used in solar panels. The average solar panel requires 20 grams of silver. Electric vehicles also use between 25 and 50 grams of silver. And right now, we've obviously seen Elon Musk, like they're building solar-powered trucks. And here's another thing too. A lot of people take this for granted. Elon Musk started building Teslas, and all the car companies mocked him and laughed at him. And now they're racing to catch up. So now it's no longer just Tesla making electric cars. Everybody is, right? Well, now Tesla is making these electric semi-trucks. Pretty soon, all these other manufacturers will be making electric semi-trucks. And then it was just announced the other day that Tesla is building the only fully electric-powered locomotive on Earth. Now, when you think about that, you're going, wait a minute, how does that even work? We see all these in Europe, and they're run off catenary lines, and those are the electrical power lines above the train. Well, they also have motors that move them around too. You see, most people don't realize that diesel locomotives are diesel electric, but it takes the diesel to charge and run the electrical system. So it's like putting a Honda generator on the trunk of your Tesla, right? So everything's moving to electricity. So just that alone, but then you look at the medical applications right now, that more and more medical applications for silver, and a lot of that's being kept in secret, right? But then look at this, the risk of a supply gap. Despite silver's importance, declining ore grades and depleting reserves at existing mines are reducing the metal's output. The industry also suffered from a lack of investment in primary silver mines. Today, over 70% of silver is mined as a byproduct of gold, copper, and other metals. Production is also concentrated in 3 countries, Mexico, Peru, and China, which together account for half of the global silver production. Now, when you think about that, remember, China doesn't like to let its metal out. It doesn't let any gold out. It mints a handful of gold pandas and lets it out. Think about what they're going to do with silver. And then you've got to look at the future of silver. Where do you think it's going to go? Look, the fact of the matter is it's not time to get super emotional over silver. I still believe you could see weakness in the price. But what we experienced in COVID should teach a lot of people something. There was a day where you couldn't get it, or if you could, it's at what cost? The price, the premium for a silver eagle at one point was almost double. So you had silver, let's say at $15, and a silver eagle was selling for $30. So you've got to consider that too. You don't always want to look, if you're looking at investing in physical, look at the spot price, look at the price over spot as well. I think these are great days to buy, but again, you don't go all in and you don't be emotional about it, because countries are buying it up. And when they start to really announce, hey, we just picked up this much silver, I think it's going to send a shockwave through the industry. Hey, I hope you got something out of this. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to buy some physical, I'll put a link down below to a company that I trust for physical delivery. And but the point is, go get the cheapest silver you can. That's the most important thing. I like junk silver. That's how I do things, but I also buy cheap rounds. So hope you got something out of this. The Economic Ninja is out.